I'm doing a video today on how the VA rates GERD, which I think a lot of veterans could have GERD and not even know about it. It is a high value claim. So if it's something that, maybe you have symptoms of, or maybe you've been diagnosed with it, especially if you had symptoms while you were in service, and you can get this thing service connected, and I'll talk a little bit about that more towards the end of the video, then definitely pay attention to this because, like I said, it could be a high value claim and really could increase your rating and help you get more treatment options that would be covered by the VA. So this is a super important video if it applies to you. All right, so there's a bunch of different ratings. I think it goes 0, 10, 30, 50, and 80. I'll talk about all of them here, kind of go over some of them, but just keep in mind, I'm not a doctor. I don't have GERD. So it could be, something that, there's a lot of definitions on here and just things that you want to make sure that if you do have it, you do talk to your doctor about it to figure out if these, where you would be in the rating criteria. All right. So a 0% rating is essentially you've been diagnosed with this, but you don't have daily symptoms and, there's no need for daily medications. Now, some people scoff at the 0% rating, but 0% is actually a good thing, especially if you have this. And the reason I say that is because there's a lot of secondary conditions that could be connected to this. And so if you have it even at a 0%, getting a secondary condition connected to it, could significantly increase your overall rating. All right, next up is a 10% rating. And according to 38 CFR, which is where I'm getting all of this information as it's related to GERD, is a documented history of esophageal strictures that require daily medicines to control dysphagia, or and it's otherwise asymptomatic. And just to help you out with some of the definitions from what I understand, dysphagia is like having a hard time swallowing. So, and then, the strictures is like the openings inside your esophagus. So 30% rating is going to be history of recurrent esophageal strictures causing, hard to swallow, requiring dilation no more than 2 times a year. So you're going to the doctor and you're getting it, you're getting the dilation done. And I threw some definitions on here too. So you'll hear refractory. Refractory is just basically the esophagus failing to open adequately. And then recurrent is, your esophagus responding well to stretching initially, but then narrows down again too quickly. And these are things to talk to your doctor about and to make sure that your doctor is, you understand what's going on with your esophagus and making sure that your doctor is explaining it to you and also documenting it, accurately in your records so that it translates well to the VA rater, just so you make sure you get the correct rating. Okay, the last two is 50% and 80%. So 50% rating is esophageal recurrent or refractory esophageal strictures causing, hard to swallow, dysphagia, requiring at least one of the following: dilation 3 or more times a year, dilation using steroids at least 1 time per year, or esophageal stent placement. So as you can see, like if you've been going to the doctor for a while for this condition, then, it's good. You're going to have medical evidence built up. But if you just, started realizing that you had this, it would probably make sense for you to fill out an intent to file and then start building your medical evidence before you even submit it. That way you can get the most accurate rating, because it is going to take a little bit, especially if you have a lot of these treatments that are necessary. Okay, so 80% rating could be documented history of recurrent or refractory esophageal strictures causing severe difficulty swallowing, which is dysphagia, with at least one of the following present. Aspiration. Aspiration is essentially when you're breathing in the fluids that, are in your esophagus. Undernutrition, substantial weight loss, and treatment with either surgical correction or an esophageal gastrointestinal tube. So 80% obviously is pretty extreme stuff, but if you have those, like 80% rating, is a really high rating. So, definitely make sure you have the right evidence, especially if you have that, if you fall under that criteria. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about what every single VA claim is going to need no matter what. Number one, you're going to need a current diagnosis. So, GERD, I think, is one of those things that a lot of people could have and not even know it. So, if you do have the symptoms, make sure you go see a doctor and get a diagnosis. That way it's current. And then you're also going to need to be able to connect this to something, okay? And all VA claims, if you're new to this, are going to require some sort of, like, anything that you can connect it to that has something to do with military service. So if you started having some of the symptoms while you were in service, maybe you had that funny taste in your mouth, but like, who's going to go to the doctor for that? Nobody's really going to go to the doctor for this. So, you're going to have to document that in a personal statement. I would even maybe talk to your doctor about the fact that you had those symptoms while you're in the military and ask him or her, like, hey, like, I remember I had this, back in 19 whatever or 2000 whatever. I was on active duty during that time. Is it possible that I had this back then? And if, they might not be able to say definitively, but if they say, yeah, that's a symptom of it, and it's very possible that started occurring from that, maybe you talk about some of the, medicines that you took for treatment of other things. I think, taking like ibuprofen or Motrin is a cause of this. I do believe, just look around at some of the things that you could have been exposed to while you were in active duty service, and see if any of those work. But the big thing essentially here is you've got to be able to have something to connect this to. So something's got to be in your medical records, or something's got to be able to be produced as evidence, whether it's non-medical or medical, to show it. That gives you that nexus between the two, right? Like, you've got something happening in service that you can connect to that current diagnosis, and then you have a better chance of getting your GERD approved. No, so that's good information, but I also want you to know that you're not in this thing all by yourself. You have these educational videos online. You have Reddit and Facebook groups, places where you can go ask questions to get yourself educated on this, this process, and the process of getting GERD approved as well. So, make sure that you're educating yourself. Talk to your physician about this and about, your condition and how potentially it could be connected. You can also, once you get yourself educated, make an appointment with the VSO. They're free, and see how they might be able to help you out. I realize GERD can be a difficult one if you don't have any evidence in your military records, but it's very possible that this could be connected, from, a lot of different things. And I think a common one might be the fact that a lot of us took Motrin and stuff in the military, and I think that has something to do with how some of this stuff forms. So just take a look at some of the potentials there and see if any of them apply to you, and if they do, definitely put in an intent to file and start building up your evidence for this one. And while you're doing that, of course, if you're not already doing it already, get the treatment from your doctor, from the VA, whoever you can, to make sure that you're taken care of. As always, if you like the information, if you're interested in information on how to, navigate the VA claims process, I can't say that I'm an expert. I'm certainly not a VSO, but I've definitely, been in this process for a little while. So I like to kind of educate on things that I've learned throughout the process. So if that information is important to you, if increasing your rating or getting a rating is important to you, hit the subscribe button and see what kind of information I might be able to help you out with for free. And of course, I created a website, a little passion project, informedveteran.com. It's free. Check it out. A lot of information in there. I'm building on it as much as I can. It's a little hobby. Check it out. See if you like it. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel.